Hi everyone, and welcome to my presentation. For this assignment, I observed a public library, and throughout my visits, it became very apparent that there was a divide amongst the staff in the ways that patrons interacted with them. I had a hunch that it may have had something to do with how the librarians presented themselves, and my research led me to understand that some of the staff were exhibiting signs of the librarian stereotype, while others were more friendly and open to helping patrons. In the following slides, I will share two interactions I witnessed and my own perspective on which type of interaction establishes the public library as a pillar of the community. The librarian stereotype paints a picture of a homely, older woman who cares more about protecting the library's collection and resources than she does about helping the people who come in to use those materials. Eric Jennings provides a rather colorful description of the librarian stereotype, and I've included it here for you. A lot of assumptions are being made there to create a generalized image of the typical librarian, and unfortunately, depictions of librarians in the media often follow this formula. Fellow fans of Parks and Recreation will no doubt recall the notable Leslie Knope quote that, "The library is the worst group of people ever assembled in history. They're mean, conniving, rude, and extremely well-read, which makes them very dangerous." We can chalk the negative portrayals of librarians in the media up to artistic license, but the librarian stereotype isn't confined to primetime sitcoms. That brings me to my first interaction. During my initial visit to my observation library, I spent my afternoon shadowing a librarian at the reference desk upstairs. The desk sits about 50 feet away from an open computer lab that it faces. After school, a group of teenagers came in to work on homework together. As they discussed their assignment at the computers, the librarian interrupted our conversation to tell me that she needed to get the teenagers to quiet down and was noticeably bothered by the noise. I had hardly even noticed the increased volume in the library, but within 15 minutes she approached them a second time. Soon after, they began to pack up their bags to leave the library. The librarian had not asked the teens if they needed help with anything, nor did she try to accommodate them by offering them a study room and laptops. Instead, they were shushed into alienation, and I was left wondering how often this happened. Professional organizations such as the American Library Association are recognizing that in order for libraries to remain viable in their communities, the librarian stereotype needs to be annihilated. Library staff need to make themselves more approachable and focus on providing excellent customer service to patrons. The Reference and User Services Association division of ALA has created a set of guidelines to help library staff accomplish this. Librarians are advised to be easily identifiable through dress code and visual aids like name tags, make eye contact and be aware of nonverbal communication like body language, acknowledge patrons in a friendly manner, and be prepared to put other work on hold when a patron approaches. These actions help librarians to build relationships with the patrons in their community. That in turn inspires feelings of respect and trust from the patron and will manifest in repeat visits to the library, which leads me to my second interaction. During my last visit, I shadowed a different librarian at the main reference desk near the entrance of the library. She was busy creating posters for the library's various summer programs, but never once failed to look up at an entering patron to smile at and greet them. She was able to refer to many patrons by name that evening, but one interaction in particular stood out to me. An older gentleman stopped by her station to ask about movie recommendations, and before he left the desk, she asked him how he was feeling about his Kindle after their most recent tech tutoring session. He told her that he still prefers physical books, but feels more confident using the e-reader when he travels. Not only did this librarian and patron have a relationship in which they could banter back and forth about Marvel movies, but she remembered a service she recently provided him and followed up to make sure it had been useful to him. This experience was a complete 180 to what I had witnessed with the teens, and I truly believe that it is the direction that public libraries are moving in. Realistically, I know that not every reference transaction performed by every reference librarian will result in this kind of patron familiarity, but I do think that it was satisfying for the patron and for the librarian as well, and that their community is stronger for the relationships being built in that library. I can only hope that we will all experience that same fulfillment in our own library interactions. Thanks for listening.